This is HaShulchan, your idea, Siman Zayin, Sif Chav Gimel to Chav Vav. This is supplemental day 74 of the HaShulchan Yomi cycle. And we're talking about Choshim Zera Av. Therefore, we have a difference in terms of Malchus. You have a male deer which mated with a female lamb, female sheep. Vyoda Basin gave birth to a daughter. Vlad, and that daughter itself gave birth to an offspring. V'shalad Abbas and shechted the daughter of Vlad and the offspring be on the one day. There's certainly a prohibition to do this. Maybe don't take into account the father's contribution. And the daughter is a complete sheep. I mean, Malchus, in terms of Malchus, the question is whether something is considered to be sheep, even if it's partially sheep. The Armenian cave, we do say if a partial sheep is a sheep, Malchus would be Malchus here, because the mother was a partial sheep. For the Afim, because even we say that we do contain kind of contribution of the father, and this animal is a partial chaya, which is the exempt side. Nevertheless, he's been said as also a partial sheep. I'm not too cool as to require that it be in its entirety a sheep. Ain't but Malchus, there is no Malchus. Because maybe we do take on the father's contribution, but the mother is only a partial sheep, not a full sheep. We pass and then we say even a partial sheep is a sheep. And it's like in the bracket says Rabbanan who argue Rabbi Lezer on Daf Ayin Tes. Back out of brackets, it says Tzviya is in the keva. Therefore, if you have a male sheep which mated with a female deer, below the bas, and this couple had a daughter. Babas yod the Vlad, and this daughter had an offspring. The show that Babas Vlad be mechad, and you shechted the mother and the offspring in one day. Also, the prohibition. There's no Malchus because the Supuk, if we take into account the male or not. Hefech, we don't know Choshim Zerav, no, not Choshim Zerav. Hefech, but the opposite, if you have a male deer which had mated with a female sheep, Yodabas, and gave birth to a daughter of Yosabas of Vlad, and that daughter had offspring, and you shechted the mother and the offspring on one day. Chayim Malchus, in that case, Chayim Malchus, because Choshim Zerav is irrelevant in this case, because if you are Choshesh, you do take into account the Sevafil Mixed Set. It's even a partial sheep, and the mother is definitely a sheep. The bracket says here, so in the Gemara and all the poskim pass in this way. Chavt out. These Hashem also says that Daf Ayin Tes. But says Zachar Shabbat Tzviya Nekeva, if you have a male sheep which have mated with a female deer, below the set and gave birth to a sheep, a shachar at Tzviya, the mother who was the deer, set, and the offspring which was a sheep. Of the Yom Echad on one day, ain't as a Isser, it's not a prohibition. I feel even concerned with the father's contribution. They should tell us Sarak Behema, because it's only Asr, a Behema and its offspring, Luchaya, and not a Chaya and its offspring. On the contrary, see Zachar, you have a male deer, Shabbat, Santa Keva, which made it with a female sheep, behold the Tzvi, and they gave birth to a deer. B'shachar, I said, Batzi, and no lad b'yom echad, you shechted the sheep, the deer. So you shechted the sheep, V'atzvi, and the deer, Hanolad, which is born b'yom echad, the Vade Loke. You do get Malchus. Why Tor Aser Behema Ubena Tor Aser and Behema and its offspring. Yeah, bet Mashiach, no matter what the offspring is. Came the Amy Behema Vadois, because the mother is definitely a Behema, so it's not reciprocal. A Chaya which gives birth to Behema, you're Potter. A Behema which gives birth to Chaya, you're Chayav. Then Afkidu Rakli and have Vlad Hanolad Mehem. the whole ramification of the discussion we were having previously is only about the third generation, the offspring which is born from them. Shavlad in the cave of Yoda of Vlad, where the offspring was a female and it itself had its own offspring. Showing the cave of Vlad Yomechad, you shot the second generation, the third generation one day. And that all the discussion previously is relevant, but not in the conversation. Straight up, two generations. Mother Behema, daughter Chaya. In that case, he'd be Chaya also Bespino, no matter what. Chav Hey. B'divya Rambam, Binyanim Elu Tmuim Od. Rambam starts in these matters. Because he writes, B'zel Shona, this is language, Noi V'Kilaim, also as it applies to Kilaim, mismatched husbandry. Kate said, household Tzvi Shabal Ace, if you have a deer which made it with a goat, V'shochat Ace, that's Menot Lokin, and shechted the goat and its offspring, you get Malchus. Aval Ace Shabal Tzvi. But if the goat mated with a female deer, also you're not allowed to shecht it and its tzviah and its offspring. If you shecht it a loka, if you shecht you don't get malchus. Para uvna, the cow and its offspring, also Torah, and not the deer and its offspring. If the daughter of this deer was a female, the Ben, and then there was a third generation of offspring of the Yoshadas and the Keva. He shechted the second generation, which is the female Basatzia, which even though it's the daughter of a female deer, Vespina, and its offspring Loki at Makos Akan Shono is very strange. Copies what he says. It's astonishing. Where he said that the goat which mated with the sheep also vespinoi now to shech the that's it. So possible goat shabbat here the goat which mated with the deer. Also vespinoi now to shech the deer and its offspring. Came at the loss of tzvia, but no, the chag ben Israel Malchus. How can since the Torah never forbade shechting a deer and its offspring, why distinguish between the Isser and the Malchus? Okay, if there's no Malchus, there's no Isser. How can there be Isser if there's no Malchus? The Torah never forbade this scenario. Also, that which you pass in the B'shachar Basatzviyah Betzbinah, you shech the daughter of the deer and its offspring, the second and third generation. Loke Malchus Rebatzmo Pasak Shadover Suffolk. Himself asking, we have a Suffolk, Chashim Zer Avim Lav. We don't know if we take into account the father's Jewish or not. And here, the father's contribution is what would make it a sheep. Veich Loke. They're not concerned with the father's contribution. But and it's a completely a deer. Because the mother was a deer. And there's not even mikzah set. The Faratomalov Club Pascal astonished what he said. Udvarim Rabim Nemru was that amazing what he said about this. Back it says look Lechamish and the Bach and the Shach, and they all left it difficult. More astonishes writes in Hilchos Kilaim. Shekosva Yeludim min Kilaim, the offspring of Kilaim. I must say min acher if their mothers were a different species. Min achot, sorry. They must say the mothers the same species. Mutar kilim ze'im ze. You're allowed to husband them with each other. You should name it that two separate species. The mothers also akim ze'im ze. Now let's just husband them with each other. If you did husband them with each other, loke. You get malchus. Also, if you husbanded this offspring, even on the species of its mother, you get malchus. Ketzad, how so? Parent shimo chamor, a mule whose mother was a donkey. We're talking about preda. You can mate with a mule shimo chamor whose mother was a donkey. I should say a male mule whose mother was a donkey, you're allowed to husband it with a female mule whose mother was a donkey. But you're not allowed to mate it even with a donkey. Even though the mother was a donkey, you can't mate it with another full donkey. But a male mule whose mother was a horse. Also, you can't mate with a female mule whose mother was a donkey. Initially, he says you don't take into account the father's contribution at all. Same for the Chesed and Vade. In the end, he says it's clear that we do take into account the father's contribution. If you husband it with the mother species, you get Malchus. What do you mean? It's the same species, right? But it's no. It's the father's contribution makes different species. So many don't take out the father's contribution as a suffix. So I get Malchus. For a temple of a rush, because Klaim Ayin Sham. We're talking Mfarshim Agia Bidvarav. The Mfarshim tried to change the Girsa here. He tried to change the way the Rambam's what the Rambam writes. They did not find an alternative which would be meaningful. And that is it for today. The answer will have to wait for tomorrow.